everyone, this is Amanda Borchel-Dan.
And I'm Jessica Steinberg,
your host for Times Will Tell,
a weekly podcast from the Times of Israel. Hello, Times Will Tell listeners. It's Jessica Steinberg. Get ready for some music and words about music from the East and the West. Our guests this week are Shani and Yahala Lachmish, sisters, musicians, singers, and composers. They've been singing on stage since they're just kids with their mother and grandmother and probably some other family members as well. I think their father too, because he's a chazan, a cantor. And they're here to talk about their band, Tandu, which is a loose translation from the Aramaic term for togetherness. And that really resonates in terms of their musical spirit and their sense of family that runs through clearly everything that they do. They're inspired, in part, and as well, by their great-grandmother, who they called Savtuna. I'm sure they'll tell us more about her name, their name for her, and their father Chaim as well, a cantor and a piyyut, which is a singer of piyyut, liturgical poems, in their arrangements of falafel jazz. They'll tell us what that is, piyyut, those liturgical poems, soul, world music. They'll tell us about their album, which is being released right now. And I will stop speaking and say hello to Shani and Yahala. Hello.
Hi.
Wait, now each of you say hello separately so that we can know whose voice is whose.
So my voice is lower. I'm Shani.
And I'm Yahala.
So welcome to you. We're very happy to have you on The Times Will Tell, our weekly Times of Israel podcast. But first of all, I have to ask this question. I'm almost embarrassed to ask, but I'm not really. Falafel jazz. Could you tell us what that is? Because I don't think I'm the only one who is a little bit curious about that term.
So there are so many well-known Israeli jazz musicians all over the world, and they bring this Middle Eastern kind of feel to their music, whether it's the different measures, different styles of different rhythms that they use, or the different scales, the modes that they put in their music that are oriental in their feel or bring a different sense to the European jazz or the American jazz. And they got this name of the falafel jazz.
Tell us about your album that's coming out. It's your first album.
What pushed us to do it was COVID. We were stuck at home without any performances live. And we were thinking, what can we still do? Because COVID will be over eventually. And we thought, I started to imagine the day after. So I said, okay, this is the time to start working on an album. It's a lot of work inside before we take it outside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Plus, it's another way to get to our audience because we can't get to our audience in live performances. So it was how could we still get there? We need to send ourselves some way. So let's do it with recordings and put it online.
Give us a little bit of a sense of what we're going to be hearing on the album.
So maybe first of all, we'll say that the name of the album is, as you said, it's Savtuna. It's named after our great-grandmother. And
it's like Savtush. It's like a nickname for Savtuna. So we had Savta and we had Savtuna.
Although we didn't really have her because she passed away when I was a year old and before Yala was born.
You didn't get to grow up with her.
I got the Yahala. I'm named after her. Her name was Diamantina, from the word diamond, and my name Yahala is from Yahalom in Hebrew. So I feel like I have some of her spirit.
Yes, she does.
She was a very spiritual lady, and she was the woman who held the family together. So maybe something about that, the familyness, the togetherness, and being very close and related to prayer, to God, to the Jewish tradition, and having that as something that is like a light in her life and in others that knew her. The piyyutim are all traditional in a way, and it's not only bringing in different voices from different communities around the world, but it's also bringing this connection to our roots and to our family, and inviting other people to be involved with their own tradition and with their family story, and to be more open to have this in our day-to-day life.
Can I put you on the spot this early in the interview and ask you to sing a little snippet of something so that the listeners can get a sense of what we're talking about here?
So we'll sing the chorus of the piyyut Eladir, which was our first single. Came out 10 months ago, I think. No, a little less, maybe 8 months ago. Eladir, melech melachim l'ma'ala kol v'na'ala, eincha meni al ta'alim nurak ha'el shimshi, ha'el shimshi, ha'el shimshi, nurak ha'el shimshi.
Okay, love it. Okay, so tell us what it's about. Tell us, and then we'll discuss. Let's talk a little bit about piyyut generally, but tell us what Eladir is about, what you're singing.
Usually piyyutim, when you think about piyyutim, they're ancient. They were written, we have a few piyyutim written by Ibn Gabirol 1,000 years ago. But this piyyut is pretty new. It was written by someone that lives in Haifa today. And Yahala was in touch with him years ago and talked to him more about the meaning of the piyyut. And it's about gratitude. Yeah. Gratitude and to see things in life in the light. I want to say in the light of God, but it sounds weird in English.
Like to see the good, the perspective, and like to
thank God for everything you have in life, which really speaks the language of our grandmothers. That they were really full of gratitude for everything in their life, although their lives were really hard. Yeah. But still they could see God in everything, his blessing in everything.
Where did your grandmothers come from?
Libya.
Piyyut, liturgical poems. I keep on saying it just because if you're not familiar with the term, then you kind of need to hear the explanation a few times. It's very big in Israel right now, and it has been for a while, sung by many different kinds of singers, young and old. People have been singing it for decades, people who are bringing it into their repertoire. What do you think? I mean, as you said, this one, for instance, is religious. It's talking about God. And yet we have many kinds of singers who are singing piyyutim to audiences who might not necessarily be thinking about God so much, or about religion, or about belief. What do you think it is that has made piyyut, these liturgical words, catch on so deeply again or now? What do you think it is about you? You have audiences. What do you think they're reacting to?
On Sunday, we had
our launch party for the
album. People started to come. There were a few people just wandering around this beautiful place we were preparing at. And someone asked, who are you? And we said, we're having a performance here soon. We just got out our album. And he looked secular. And we told him it's an album of piyyutim. And I was sure, but this is I don't know why, this is my bad. I was sure he was going to say, oh, that's nice, and then leave. But he actually stayed, and he said, wow, really, piyyutim? And he looked, and he was interested, and he said, this is ours, this is everyone. It's not only, it doesn't only belong to religious people. This is our shorashim, our roots. So he was really excited about it. He got an album at the spot. It was really exciting.
First of all, that some people maybe don't speak the language of religion or belief in God, but they do believe in something, and they do have tradition or the Jewish culture as something cultural that is a part of my story, and not necessarily something that relates to
religious law.
Yeah. And is something that brings me closer to my friends, to my family, to myself. I think it even brings us closer to ourselves, opening this gate to tradition. And it's also some of these texts that we said that have been written years ago, hundreds of years ago and thousands of years ago. They were really so deep, and like each and every word has so much in it that it's like any poetry, that it's something about this beautiful art that is it's like a magnet. You feel like you're really, you want to be there. You want to be a part of this. And I think that bringing those beautiful texts and the stories that come with them and the meaning that they have, and bringing them with a fresh attitude, a music. First of all, like bringing different traditions, as Shani said before, it's everyone. It's not having just one tradition.
Right.
Where our dad's from Libya, our mom's from England, and it's not just bringing our own family story, our own tradition. It's bringing this whole kibbutz goliot, this whole beautiful ingathering of the diaspora,
ingathering of the exiles.
Yeah, and that's something that is really, first of all, like opens the door for everyone to be a part of, and also it is telling a bigger story that is very special, and also just musically, it's really special to have this world music kind of. It really actually is world music. Sometimes people use this because they don't know how to define what they're doing. So it's like, oh, we're doing world music, like different influences, but this is really what we're doing. This came from Afghanistan, and this came from Algeria, and this came from Iraq, and this came from Europe, and it's like all these different sounds together with our own interpretations. They just bring something else, and it's like the whole that matters. Apropos Tandu, right? Like Tandu, it's like the togetherness. It's not the one of them by itself could not be the same. You know, people today don't really release albums anymore. Some do. And I'm a fan of albums, and I really buy CDs. But yeah, I see that less, you know, people just release another single, another single, another single, another single. And then like they could maybe say at the end, oh, this is an album because I've already released 7 or 8 of those. But when we were working on, when we met our musical producer, which is a very close friend of ours, Uriel Weinberger, we told him from the first spot, he's like, this is going to be an album. He said, why? Why do you want to do an album? And we said, because it's not only about this one piyyut and this other piyyut and this nigun. It's about all of them together telling a story. And he really got it. And he said, okay, I'm in. I want to do this with you.
We're going to take a quick break from my conversation with Yahala and Shani Lachmish of Tandu, talking about piyyut liturgical music and their band and their debut album. Hi, Times Will Tell listeners. We're glad you're with us for Times Will Tell, our weekly Times of Israel podcast. You should also check out our daily briefing, the 15-minute podcast dropped every Sunday through Thursday, in which we speak to our fellow Times of Israel reporters and correspondents, covering the very latest news and headlines. You can subscribe to the daily briefing wherever you find your podcasts. We're back with Shani and Yahala Lachmish, 2 sisters who are part of Tandu, a band that sings liturgical music, as well as falafel jazz and some other interesting concepts out there in the music world. Have a listen. Tell me a little bit about what it was like. I know that you tell stories in your performances. Tell me what it was like to grow up with a father as a chazan. Did he sing piyyut at the dinner table, or was it only in the Beit Knesset, in the synagogue? Or was it, you know, as I always say, like through osmosis, like you just heard it coming into your ears at different times in your childhood and growing up?
So this is going to be embarrassing. Our father sang piyyutim forever. I mean, it came from his own home. His mother would sing piyyutim. His father, before passed away, was also a chazan. And when we grew up, it was a very hard competition between piyyutim or jazz. So it wasn't very hard for us because we always wanted to hear the jazz.
Jazz and musicals and Israeli songs and anything that is not piyyutim.
So Abba would sing the piyyutim, and he would sing over the Shulchan Shabbat.
Right, the Friday night table.
So not in a very nice way we would
shift into something else.
Yes.
We didn't really
appreciate it.
Appreciate it, nor did we give it any chance when we were growing up.
But we're doing Chazara B'Tshuva now.
Yeah, we're doing Tshuva, and we're doing a great tikkun, and we also sometimes, I also sometimes do workshops with my dad, and we tell our story, and we're in a better place now. So we did grow up with those sounds, and we did.
You're repenting for your teenage ways.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if we felt comfortable to disturb our father singing piyyutim, we would never do that to our grandmother. So I do remember some piyyutim she would sing. I would never stop my grandmother singing, right? So and I do remember some piyyutim from growing up, and it's only after I left home and I started getting interested through friends that first started with a musical aspect of like learning the Arabic music and the maqam. And then I was like fascinated by that. And when I told them that my dad knew maqam is like the theoretical Arab music, they were like, what? Their eyes popped out of their heads. They're like, wow, he knows maqam. He's so cool. And I was like, yeah, my dad's cool. And I knew it was cool, but I didn't know that that was also part of him being cool. So then I started then realizing that there's something there that I want to learn more and be more involved in. It wasn't yet in the piyyut, just like musical, how do you say it? Sakranut, like just like musical curiosity, like to learn these beautiful tunes and like where do they come from and these special modes. And then when I finished I learned composition in the Reuben Academy in Jerusalem. And when I finished there, I started working in an organization called Kehilot Sharot, that their whole vision is bringing back the piyyut, and they were like a part of this whole
movement.
Yeah, the whole movement of of like bringing back the piyyut, and they taught men and women together. And they asked me to open a group for young adults, and I was pretty shocked that they asked a woman to do so. I was like, okay, that sounds like a good job. I'm gonna do that. And then I fell in love with this magical world, and I started sending my family all these piyyutim that we learned. And Shani was like, we have to do that in Tandu. We must do that in Tandu. And then we started thinking of this, and we just like started bringing in here and there some piyyutim, some nigunim, and that's like our first time really bringing it. We were dreaming of this piyyutim performance that we were gonna do, and then when COVID started, we were like, okay, so we already have this vision of a piyyutim performance. It's gonna happen after COVID. Let's start now the album that is gonna be with the same program. So,
Shani, I'm going to ask you this first as the older sister. What is it like to work together as sisters? You've been doing it a long time.
So, first of all, I think Yahala and I really complete each other. Yahala, she spoke really nicely about all the piyyutim, but it's really thanks to her because all these years she learned and she did her research. I was still out of the picture. I still didn't listen to piyyutim. Only what Yahala brings to the table, that's what I listen to and fall in love with. She can make me fall in love with every single piyyut. I would hear it and I would say, it's not really nice. And then she would sing it and I would be, wow, this is amazing. It's beautiful. So Yahala is amazing with everything to do with the musical arrangements, the thinking about all the harmonies and the how would you say ibudim and the arrangement. She is like, without her, we wouldn't have our band. And I think what I'm good at is with the ideas. I'm like, okay, let's do an album. Good luck, Yahala. And then I leave the room and she does all the job.
It's not only the ideas. It's the writing. Shani, so I learned composition, as I said, but I don't compose unless Shani comes with a sheet of paper and says, you are composing right now, and takes anything that could distract me and just makes sure that that's what I'm doing right now. So, yeah.
So I'm on all the arrangements.
She's a band manager.
Got it. Can I ask you to sing something else a cappella? Something that shows the other things that we also spoke about a little earlier. Maybe something, I don't know, piyyut, falafel, jazz. Give us a little bit of something about what worked for you guys together.
Maybe can I offer, because we have piyyutim and also a nigunim, although what I want to sing is also a piyyut, a yedid nefesh, I thought. I'm sure that a lot of the listeners probably know what a piyyut is without realizing that it's a piyyut. For example, Yedid Nefesh that we have in our album is a very, very known piyyut written by
Maybe Azkari.
Azkari, yeah. And some kehilot, some communities sing it before Shabbat or in Kabbalat Shabbat. And this is a piyyut. So we also have a beautiful arrangement of this in our album. And maybe we'll sing also a part of it.
That would be great.
Yedid nefesh avarachaman me'eshoch avdecha el retzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo
It makes me wish that Friday night were coming even sooner. So we're going to wrap up soon. The album is out. And now, how are you getting it out there? Are there performances? Are we going to be seeing you in anywhere besides Israel, maybe? Tell us about that.
So first of all, Baruch Hashem, performances in Israel, thank God, are coming in, and we have lots of them. And especially now we're preparing already for the performances of Chodesh Elul, and towards Aseret Yemei Tshuva and Yom Kippur, we have a beautiful performance.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt and say, so right, all the month of September, the month before the high holidays is a big preparation month in that sense. So you'll be performing.
And we also have performances still. Like we have summer performances. Mm-hmm. We have July and August, some performances, some Kabbalot Shabbat that we are having in Jerusalem, and some private events and some concerts that are open to the crowd.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Yeah. And hopefully after the holidays, we're going to have more time to invest in this project in Savtuna and like performing in different places. Hopefully, we're very looking forward to be doing more of this. It was an amazing, super exciting and touching performance on Sunday. We were like overwhelmed with joy and with beautiful people that came to celebrate with us. We had 200 people in Musalala on the rooftop of the Cloud building in Jerusalem. It was insane.
And people were actually standing up and dancing to piyyutim. Isn't this amazing?
And sitting down and singing the piyyutim. It was just like, they're the best audience ever.
We're going to link to any information that you have about where your performances are now and upcoming. We can do that for this podcast. I think it's a really fascinating thing to be able to introduce different kinds of music to crowds that either expect it or don't expect it. I mean, that's music, right? That's the whole concept of music and listening to it for what it is.
We actually had in our concert on Sunday, we had 2 tourists from Sweden, I think. They knew nothing, zero words in Hebrew, but they were just like sitting there enjoying it so much. And it's like a different way of communication, music. We also have our podcast, Shani and I. It's called Al Savtuna, and it's talking about the album. We're talking about the piyyutim, and we're mentioning where they come from and who wrote them and what are the different values that come from those piyyutim or that are mentioned there, and we're relating that to our family story, to our grandmothers and what we take from them and how we want to remember them. And that's like our each piyyut that we released has an episode. So now we're working still on the few that we haven't released individually. So we're gonna still have them going on till the holidays, God willing. But we already have 6 episodes up, or 7.
Yeah.
So we will link to the podcast as well for our Hebrew listeners, for our Hebrew speaking listeners. And even not, you can just, I imagine it's just sometimes fun to hear what you're talking about in the other language that you speak. So that's also good. Well, Yahala and Shani Lachmish, it has been really a pleasure to have you on The Times Will Tell. We look forward to hearing more from you and to listening to everything that you have to say and sing as time goes on. So thank you.
Toda Ava.
A pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening to Times Will Tell from the Times of Israel, and thanks to our producer, Gilad Brownstein.
Please subscribe wherever you find your podcasts and check out our daily briefing news show every Sunday through Thursday.
Like what you hear? Consider rating us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to spread the word.
Until next week.
Shalom.